What up guys, it's Jay from Neighborhood Gearhead, and here's my moped. Alright, you guys are probably wondering, what exactly is this thing? This is a 1974 Batavus HS50. This thing is basically a motorized bicycle from the 1970s. As you can see, it's made in Holland, and because it's from 1974, everything is made of extremely durable metal. I mean, even the red paint job still looks good over 40 years later, over 40 years later. Of course, I have made some modifications to this thing. When I got it, it was not this clean. To start off, I had to clean this thing extremely well when I first got it. It was covered in rat's nests, caked in dirt, and had been sitting in my grandfather's garage for about 5 years. It used to belong to my uncle. He used to ride this thing in New York. It's like a mini motorcycle, basically. The top speed is 30 miles an hour, and it's pretty good on gas, which makes it perfect for city riding. I modified it and turned it into a little stunt bike that I can ride around and just have fun in. The engine is as basic as it gets. The piston is actually this big. I kid you not. I had to rebuild this engine. I had to use a lot of rust, a lot of de-ruster on this bike, because there is a bike chain and there is a chain for the motor. The bike chain was completely rusted. I had to dump it in a bucket of de-ruster for about a day and hand bend these back so this chain could be flexible again. And now it works pretty good. In order to get parts for this thing, I had to research so much about vintage mopeds. And I ended up finding out that this moped called a Puch, P-U-C-H, is very similar in parts compared to this bike. So this is actually a Puch chain tensioner. I used a Puch. I'm pretty sure this carburetor is made for a Puch, but this engine is very similar to the engine used on other vintage mopeds. The carburetor is right there. It's a little bit bigger than the factory one. I have the factory one right here. This one is tiny. Look at that tiny intake. Replaced it with a 15 millimeter intake and carburetor, which is a 2 millimeter size increase, which to you might not seem like a lot, but for this bike, it gave it a lot more power and a lot better sound. So yeah, after finally getting this thing to run, then I started doing cosmetic stuff until the handlebars broke. It used to have bicycle style handlebars that went up really high, but those actually snapped in half over 40 years of abuse. So I got this Amazon handlebar that was too long, cut it down about 2 inches on each side, stuck the factory switch gear on this thing. So we have front brake, clutch, rear brake, choke, horn that doesn't work. But I'm happy with this because it looks good and it works. I even have a mirror now, which is duct taped for now, but you know, it helps because I can actually see behind me. This is a 2-stroke engine, which means it runs off of 2-stroke oil and gasoline, a mix of it. You have to mix it up in a gas canister or something like that before you pour it into the tank. And probably one of my favorite things about this bike is the gas tank. It has a super unique design. Because of the gas tank, this thing looks like a motorcycle. I have the tank going down into my gas nozzle, into a fuel filter with a thick fuel line. I duct taped some skinny line into the thick line so I can have enough space to get into the carburetor without getting sliced by this moving gear. The bulbed headlight that it came with did not work, but I was able to figure out a solution. I made my own housing out of duct tape. I don't know if you can see that. I made my own housing out of duct tape in there. Stuck some Velcro in the back of a rechargeable LED light. Put a reflector from a bicycle, and bam, you have a headlight. After I did all the little cosmetic things, I decided to paint it. I painted the exhaust black, left the tip chrome, painted the arms black, the suspension, the exhaust hanger, and I love the way it came out. This bike has a really good looking red on top, black on bottom look. Now that you guys have seen what kind of bike this is, let's take it for a rip.